were not consulted. It was an announcement that we heard. And I've seen,
you two, you just saw the press release like every other party.
Part of the reasons that was advocated is that's one of the ways to mop up liquidity to manage inflation. But there are also consequences that we're also looking at. What would the consequences be? There will be some benefits, but there will be some challenges. And I don't know whether the monetary authorities have actually looked very closely as to what the consequences are and then how they can be mitigated. So I still advise that you have that discussion with the monetary authorities.
You are throwing the question back at us, Honorable Minister.
No, I was just repeating what you said.
No, it's not about the executive. This is not upcoming. This is what is in the front burner, because with that policy statement, dollars have started going up.
Yes.
And that is the consequences, because the target is by January, when this will take effect, dollar will have hit like 1,000 Naira to $1.
So I've said my opinion as a Nigerian. I've said my opinion as a Nigerian, not as the fiscal authority. First of all, as a fiscal authority, we were not aware of it. It was an announcement. Secondly, I think that's one of the ways that they're trying to use to manage inflation. But there are consequences that also need to be considered and how to manage those consequences.
Okay. Can you go to the next question?
Yes. The next question is on the issue of the performance of customs. So customs collections was 83% of the budget as prorated, not 17%. It's 83% performance. And we believe that, and this is as at August, we believe that with some of the things that have already come on stream, the activation of the excise duties on carbonated drinks, the beginning of the use of the heavy-duty scanners that we have provided for customs, that we're going to see increased revenue in terms of the numbers towards the end of the year. I believe customs can actually perform to the budget or even exceed the budget with the new opportunities that we have. Okay. On the issue of capital releases, the capital releases, as I reported, was 1.73 trillion, and not every project has been funded 100%, but our target is still to be able to do that before the year runs out. The nature of the funding is that it doesn't all come at one time, and we have to be able to stagger and spread the funds that come at any point in time to cover some sectors. So our goal is still to cover every fund. But I must say also that the zonal intervention funds have been released 80%, just to put that before the committee. On the issue of the size of our debt, the size of our debt today at 23% to GDP is still a healthy side. But we have a very significant problem in terms of the debt service to revenue. And that's why we keep saying the problem we have is actually a problem of revenue. So even on the face of the budget, for example, for 2022, if you look at the budget for 2022, the debt service to revenue on the budget numbers is 55%. So at 55%, if we are able to actualize the revenues, we will have been at a very healthy threshold. But when you have some months in which the numbers are low because oil revenue is not coming in at all, then you have a situation where the debt service to revenue ratio is really high. But we have been diligently following our debt management strategy. We have been repositioning our portfolio from shorter tenor to longer tenor. Unfortunately, that's not something you can do overnight. We're doing it for the domestic market, as instruments are maturing, we are refinancing them to longer dated instruments. We have recently, in fact from 2021, we've started issuing 30-year bonds, and they are very popular now in the market. The deep pockets like the pension funds find those very popular. So we've been rebalancing the portfolio to longer tenor loans. We've been rebalancing the portfolio to make sure that our foreign loan exposure is minimal, and the debt management strategy sets it at 70-30, so that no more than 30% of our foreign borrowing is from external sources. When you look at our external sources of borrowing now, 48% of the external borrowing is concessionary loans. These are loans from multilateral institutions that have very long tenors, 20 to 25. The Parliament will know because they see when we bring the request, interest rates of between 1 to 1.5%, 5 to 7 year moratorium. Those are the larger ones. But we do have the commercial borrowing, which are the Eurobonds, that form 38% of the foreign portfolio, and that's our biggest exposure. Because as the dollar grows stronger in the international market, our debt service cost also increases. Then we have 12% bilateral borrowings from China, Germany, countries like that, and then 1% promissory notes, then 2.4% guarantees that we have issued. And for each of these indicators, we have a standard that has been approved in the medium-term debt management strategy, and we track it on a consistent basis. Every half year, we also report and publish what the numbers are looking like. So our debts are sustainable. It is the revenue that we have to address.
I'm saying, allow the minister to consent.
I'm going through the questions one by one. And on the issue of the revenue leakages, the Finance Acts have helped us to block some, and we are currently working on the Finance Act 2022. For example, the Finance Act 2020's provision for the government-owned enterprises cost-to-revenue ratio of 50/50 has helped a great deal. By that provision and by the enhanced monthly revenue reconciliation, in 2021, the GOE's revenue was 1.3 trillion. If you remember, 3 years ago, the performance was 200 to 250 billion. So there's improvements, but there are other leakages that we're currently also looking at addressing. One of them is tax expenditure. Tax expenditure is the incentives that we provide to enhance the ease of doing business. There's a review process that is ongoing. The thing about tax expenditure is you cannot stop them midway. You have to allow what you have provided to reach their maturity, and then you don't renew. So that's the approach we're taking for tax. And it's very high. For 2021, tax expenditure was about 5 trillion. That is revenue for gold. But it's a tussle between the fiscal and the trade authorities, because of course the trade authorities, their function is to make sure that they bring in businesses, and these incentives are good for businesses. But we also have to weigh it against what we are foregoing. We have also continued to enhance the use of automation. FIRS has, in this month, been able to start taxing the gaming business because of the provision that was made in the Finance Act that allows them to access ICT systems. And this is the first time we're able to do that. So gaming, gambling businesses, we never used to be able to collect anything significant from those sectors. There are increased tax excise duties that customs is implementing, and we have a suite of other provisions that will be coming in the Finance Act 2022 for the concentration of the Finance Committee of the Senate. And we will appreciate guidance from the Senate also as you undertake your supervisory function. If there are some specific leakages that you think we should look at, we will appreciate those advice, and we will take them up and look at how best to mitigate those leakages. The question from distinguished Senator Alero on the need to take very urgent and bold action on fuel subsidy couldn't have been stated better. I'm the advocate for removal of fuel subsidy. But as you know, in government, there are several layers of decision. As Minister of Finance, we review the fiscals, we make recommendations, and recommendations are reviewed by the Federal Executive Council, and then they're approved. So the MTEF and the budgets are reviewed and approved by the Federal Executive Council, and then it comes to the legislature for implementation. When we did our initial review for the MTEF, the first subsidy was, for full year, was 6.7 trillion. We recommended that let's do half year, which is 3.3, and when the discussion at the parliament was going on, we suggested that let's even half that half year, but it didn't pass. If it was up to us in this ministry, we should have removed the fuel subsidy quite a long time ago, and we did even attempt in 2020. It was removed, and then there was a reversal. In 2021, in the budget, we made a provision to exit it half year. It was also reversed, and in fact, it was a cause for an amendment of the budget as well. So it's a collective decision, and what we are glad about now is that Nigerians themselves are asking for this removal, because people now understand what we've been saying, that the benefit that we think the fuel subsidy is having for the people is not actually benefiting the people. It's not the people that need the subsidy that are actually enjoying the subsidy, and then the cost is too high. At this time, we can't continue to afford it.